Well, we all know that potassium is one of the four major macronutrients required for plant growth, but it is regularly the first nutrient that seems to be dropped out of fertiliser recommendations when times are tough. Our regular expert on fertiliser, Dr. Jamie Blennerhassett from Balance Agri-Nutrients, joins us to say why this is a poor decision. Jamie's potassium's relatively cheap and has just as big an impact on production as nitrogen, phosphorus, sulphur. So why is it so important to pasture?
Well, I guess the key to it, along with phosphorus and sulphur in particular, is that it's all about clover growth. So one of the things that I guess people maybe don't understand quite as clearly as they should is that the real key to getting your pasture humming is to be able to provide that clover with extra nutrients. And the reason for that is it's not as good at foraging for nutrients as, say, ryegrass, and it's largely down to the root structure. So what happens is if you can boost that clover growth, then you end up getting more nitrogen fixation occurring by the rhizobia. That nitrogen then makes it into the whole system, and so you get a boost of not only your total pasture, but obviously it's a higher quality feed as well.
How common is potash deficiency?
Well, it's a lot more common than perhaps what people realise, and I guess when we've looked at over probably about 7 or 8 years all of the soil and herbage tests that are done across the country, about a third of all samples are either below optimum or severely low. So it can be quite a significant problem, but the key is that if you are concerned, that you just get out there and do a soil and herbage test. It's really easy to try and remedy.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're saying it's relatively cheap, so why aren't people putting something on that's really essential?
Well, a lot of it comes down to a bit of a, not understanding the way that it is actually 50% potash in potash fertiliser, so it is potassium. So at $558 a tonne, people can balk at it and think it's an expensive product compared to, say, super that's $260, $270. But because it's 50%, what that actually means, it's only about $1.10 per kg as opposed to phosphorus, that's $2.60 per kg. The reality is both of them can have an equal impact on that production. So by leaving it out, it's actually quite a foolish decision. So not many people want to leave phosphorus out, so nor should they equally be leaving out potassium.
And in terms of when you harvest, in terms of the potassium levels, what sort of effect does that have after harvest?
Well, so in the case of, say, a hay or silage crop, you can have as much as 20 kgs of potassium taken off for every tonne of dry matter. So that can mean, depending on the size of the hay or silage crop, that you can be losing anywhere from 40 to 100 kgs of potassium per hectare. Now, that's quite a fair chunk, and what it means is if you don't actually replace that, the subsequent growth rates thereafter could be impacted. So what we recommend is often a blend of nitrogen and potassium going on either right before the paddock is locked up so that you're boosting the crop ahead of growing that hay or silage, or alternatively you come in after the crop's been taken off just to replace it so that you know that growth is not going to be stunted afterwards and the paddock returns to normal as quickly as possible.
Is that just a standard thing in terms of assumption of 20 kilos per tonne, or should we be doing herbage tests after harvest?
No, I don't think it's worthwhile for hay and silage crops to do it. I think it's really about a rule of thumb that if you know how big the crop is, then you can just apply that 20 kgs per tonne of dry matter, and that should be fine.
So in terms of my Balance Agri-Nutrients rep, giving them a call and working through those recommendations to ensure and ask the question, why is potassium being left out? Is that the message?
Yep, absolutely, and they'll be able to talk you through. The reality is it's you can get $400 to $500 a hectare of return from just correcting the deficiency. So across a dairy farm, that's quite a big whack of money. So get in there, have the discussion, and make sure you're not missing out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the case across the industry, where the value return on investment is usually lost in terms of the cost of the product. So thank you very much, Dr. Jamie Blennerhassett. He is the Innovation Leader for Balance Agri-Nutrients, a regular contributor on Rex, and always love having a chat to you, so I'll speak to you soon.
Awesome, thank you.
Radio Live Rural Exchange.